Hello again. Now, the Communication Workers Union is vowing to shut down the South African post office branches over wages and unpaid medical aid contributions. SAPO workers are demanding a 15% wage increase. A memorandum has been handed over to the Department of Communication and Digital Technology in Pretoria. The union says pickets and demonstrations would continue into Friday. Let's get more and get the latest now from the union's General Secretary, Aubrey Tshabalala. Aubrey, good afternoon. Welcome to Today. Thank you very much for your time. So what's the state of play at the moment? Is there any progress you are making? Are the negotiations underway in terms of pushing for your demands?
Well, good afternoon, Braden and the viewers of eNCA. At this point in time is that we have handed over the memorandum both to government, which is the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, the Treasury, as well as the Post Office itself. Now, the commitment we have received from the DG of the Department of Communication is that they will engage with us in terms of the talks around these issues that we have raised. The reason that we went to these three institutions is the fact that we feel that one, on the other hand, on the regulatory level, the post office have been bottleneck in terms of doing its business, and there's a need for a bailout. But at that point is that we're also complaining to the management of post office of not taking workers' issues seriously.
Why are you demanding 15% wage increase under the current economic conditions in the country?
Well, firstly, the 15% might sound as a huge amount, but if you are to look at the post office worker salary, for example, there is some of the workers who have demonstrated this in practical terms with the minister, that there are workers that have been working over a period of 20 years in post office, but still taking a net home that is less than 5,000 rand. So if you are to do calculations, really there's no serious demand in that. But taking into account that for over a period of 5 years, there's only one salary increase that the post office workers have received. So we feel that actually our demand is reasonable.
Is the post office making money?
Well, self-inflicted pain by the post office and the state, as I've made my argument clearly. Firstly, you see that there is an influx of multinational companies in the space of postal and courier services that are coming into South Africa. Why? Because the business is lucrative. Post office, with its regulation, first amongst others, that its pricing cannot be market-related pricing because it has been regulated by eNCA. That means it has to be subsidized, but the government have failed to do that, which means that the service of post office will be effectively not efficient because the pricing is way low, but it's reasonable why the prices are low. Are low because we have to make sure that there's universal access to the postal and courier services, but at the same time, we have to need a state that will subsidize such. So that has not been happening. So if you look at the grants payments, that is a lucrative business as well, but the large portion is now being given to the private sector, and we feel that it is wrongly used. The third point is that all the state institutions must use post office as their primary service provider, than to use the private sector as their primary service provider. If you look into those issues that we are raising, post office should be in the state of not only making money, but creating more employment, making good revenue in terms of the GDP for the government as a state institution.
So what is next for you now that you said the DG of the Department of Communications is committed to engage with you in trying to find a resolution here? In my introduction, I mentioned that your union was planning more pickets and demonstrations into Friday. That's tomorrow. So what's next now?
The demonstration continues tomorrow. We have given the state and the post office time to respond, and we've been generous. We have said that we give them 1 month to respond on this because we feel that there should be engagement of various stakeholders, including Treasury. So we don't expect it to be over the night. So after all those engagements, then we'll be able to make a determination what is it that we are going to do from then afterwards. But for now, we have given the time for them to respond. But tomorrow we'll continue with our protest.
So you've given them 30 days. That's 1 month from when? From today, the date on which you've handed over your memorandum?
It's 1 month from today, from the date we have handed the memorandum. That's correct.
And where will your demonstrations be taking part tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow like we have done in other provinces, in various post offices where we are organized. So each and every post office should have a picketing line. So we expect all our members and non-members to be participatory so that we can put sufficient pressure to government to respond to our demands.
And then your members will be back at work from Monday while they wait for this 30 days period you've given the authorities to respond to. They'll resume normal work on Monday.
Resume normal work on Monday, expecting the response, obviously, from the authorities. And we have said this is our phase 1 of the industrial action. The second phase will only be determined by the answers that we are going to get.
Thank you very much for your explanations this afternoon on Today. That's Mr. Aubrey Tshabalala. He's the General Secretary of the Communication Workers Union. They handed over a memorandum to government today outlining their demands for wage increase of 15% plus other issues like unpaid medical aid contributions. They've given the authorities 30 days from today. That is a month. But tomorrow they'll continue with their pickets, with their demonstrations. And on Monday they'll resume normal work.